So welcome to all participants. Okay, first of all, let's pray to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala who give us mercy, happiness, and healthy so we can attend and participate in a good condition. Bapak, Ibu, dan teman-teman mahasiswa ITS, mari kita berdoa sejenak agar acara ini nanti bisa berjalan dengan lancar. Berdoa dimulai. Berdoa dicukupkan. ITS, singing Indonesia Raya Anthem and ITS. Pak Taufik, please. To all participants in this room, would you please to stand up for a while and to participants in the Zoom meeting, take a ready position.
Indonesia tanah air, tanah tumpah di sana batu gede, jadi batu Indonesia kebangsaan, bangsa dan tanah air. Marilah kita bersatu, Indonesia bersatu. Kita tanahku hidup bangsaku rakyatku semua. Angkat jiwa dan tangan berenang untuk Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, kita merdeka, anakku nabi yang puji. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, anakku nabi yang puji. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya.
Adalah kurang lah kan je. Hah?
it down. Mohon maaf, kayaknya ada gangguan sound system ya. Yeah. The next agenda is documentation. I invite all participants in this room to come forward and all participants in Zoom meeting to open camera. Oke, Bapak Ibu dan teman-teman mahasiswa, kita foto sejenak ya untuk dokumentasi. Minta tolong ke depan.
YouTube bisa.
Satu dua tiga. Satu dua tiga. Satu dua tiga. Satu dua tiga dicoba. Satu dua tiga. Satu dua tiga. Satu dua tiga tes dicoba. Satu dua tiga.
Terima kasih. Terima kasih. Baiklah Bapak Ibu dan teman-teman mahasiswa ITS peserta hybrid workshop. Kita mulai sesi pemaparan materi. Yang pertama akan disampaikan oleh Ibu Sururin Maudina, Product Trainer iGroup Asia Pacific. Ibu Sururin, time is yours. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang Bapak dan Ibu hadirin sekalian. Selamat datang saya ucapkan untuk kegiatan kita hari ini, disiarkan secara langsung di dalam Zoom juga ya. Selamat siang rekan-rekan yang bergabung di dalam Zoom. Baik Bapak dan Ibu, mungkin sedikit informasi bahwa hari ini terkait dengan training publishing talk. Jadi pertama saya akan masuk dulu ya menjelaskan bagaimana cara mengakses konten-konten yang dilanggan ITS. Lalu nanti setelah saya selesai penjelasan ya terkait dengan bagaimana cara akses, nanti akan dilanjutkan dengan sesi Mabel. Mabel sesinya itu lebih ke arah step by step ataupun guidelines bagaimana cara untuk publish di Springer Nature. Seperti itu ya Bapak dan Ibu.
Baik, izinkan saya untuk mute ya karena mengoperasikan komputer.
Tadi sempat saya baca di Zoom, apakah suara saya sudah terdengar? Sudah ya? Baik. Jadi Bapak dan Ibu, untuk dapat mengakses ke dalam platform dari Springer Nature, itu boleh langsung masuk melalui link perpustakaan dari ITS. Ya, di sana sudah ada logo Springer Nature, boleh langsung mengklik logo tersebut.
Lalu nanti akan muncul tampilan seperti ini.
Dari Springer Nature Link, ya, boleh dibantu kita aktifkan device-nya masing-masing Bapak dan Ibu, karena kita diharapkan di sini dapat memahami bagaimana cara mengakses konten-konten yang dilanggan oleh perpustakaan ITS. Baik. Lalu yang ingin saya informasikan bahwa untuk dapat mengakses konten di dalam Springer Nature,
Itu ada dua cara ya. Yang pertama itu adalah inside of campus ataupun akses di dalam kampus. Jadi ketika Bapak dan Ibu berada di area ITS, Bapak dan Ibu hanya perlu untuk mengkoneksikan device-nya dengan Wi-Fi yang tersedia di area ITS. Jadi cukup mudah. Lalu cara yang kedua, ketika Bapak dan Ibu berada di luar area dari ITS, seperti misalnya sedang WFH, ataupun lagi di kafe, di mall, seperti itu ya. Rekan-rekan tidak dapat karena Springer Nature memberikan remote access. Caranya seperti apa? Yaitu pertama sekali, kalau memang Bapak dan Ibu masih belum pernah mendaftarkan akun, bisa diklik bagian login ya pada sudut kanan atas seperti ini. Boleh langsung dimasukkan ataupun continue with Google. Nah, Bapak dan Ibu boleh dimasukkan ataupun didaftarkan dengan menggunakan email yang berasal dari domain ITS, seperti its.ac.id, seperti itu ya, Bapak dan Ibu. Jadi nantinya user ini diketahui berasal dari institusi apa, seperti itu. Sudah cukup jelas ya, ada dua cara.
Akhirnya habis juga ya.
Lalu, kalau kita sudah berhasil membuat akun ataupun masuknya menggunakan Wi-Fi yang tersedia di ITS, kita pastikan dulu apakah sudah ada watermark yang bertuliskan seperti ini. Nah, Institut Teknologi 10 November. Ini terletak pada bagian paling bawah. Jadi scroll saja sampai mentok ya. Di sini akan ada ITS. Tandanya sudah terafiliasi dengan institusi Bapak dan Ibu. Gampang sekali ya untuk caranya. Lalu Bapak dan Ibu di sini adalah new interface ataupun tampilan terbaru dari Springer. Lebih interaktif ya. Dilihat di sini akan ada cantik sekali gambar-gambar abstraknya ya. Lalu di sini di bagian sebelah kiri atas ini adalah tools ataupun features terkhusus untuk para researchers ya. Nah, seperti apa? Di sini ada find a journals. Nah, kita lihat seperti apa? Ketika kita klik, maka nanti tampilannya seperti ini Bapak dan Ibu. Nah, ini berfungsi untuk ketika Bapak dan Ibu punya manuskrip ataupun karya tulis ilmiah, tapi Bapak dan Ibu masih belum tahu mau di submit ataupun dipublish di artikel di jurnal apa gitu ya, karena masih belum tahu nih.
Tes, tes, tes.
Baik rekan-rekan, tes. Cek, cek. Halo, cek. Sudah ya? Baik rekan-rekan. Halo? Oke. Cek. Baik, begitu rekan-rekan tadi sudah berselancar ke dalam Springer dan juga Nature. Untuk informasi lebih lanjut terkait dengan akses ataupun cara menggunakan ataupun mencari konten-konten di dalam Springer Link dan juga Nature Link, di akhir sesi boleh bertanya karena kita keterbatasan waktu. Mungkin saya akan langsung refer ke Mabel ya untuk membahas terkait dengan publishing talks. So without any further ado, I invite you, Mabel, to do your presentation, please. Thank you. This is not clear. That's okay.
Tes, 1, 2, 3. Tes, 1, 2, 3.
Testing, test. Hello. Is it? Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Hello. Better? What's that sound? Selamat siang. Saya senang bisa di ITS. Huh? That's what I can say.
That's correct.
That's what I can say. Terima kasih. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to this talk, and I'm so glad to be here. But actually, I was in ITS last year as well, giving a similar talk. Did anyone join the talk last year? No? You did? Good. Because I have revised my PowerPoint. You don't have to listen to me repeat the same PowerPoint. Okay, but first let me share my screen. Share screen. Oops. So first of all, I need to make sure everybody online can also see my screen. Okay. Yeah, but before I go to my slides, I would like to understand more about you, and it is more engaging with me only saying, right? So I would like to know more about you. So do you mind to scan the code here? And I'm using Mentimeter to ask you some questions. So just go to Centimeter and put in the code, or scan the QR code and put it the code 55131755. So I will give a minute to wait. Now I start to see people coming in. So anyone needs more time? Okay. So if okay, then I will ask you the first question. So what is your role in ITS? Are you a professor lecturer, a librarian, an undergrad student or postgrad student? Then it will give me more idea of your background here. Your majority is postgrad student. Yeah, I welcome the audience online to join as well. Then the next question, have you ever published in a journal or a book? Quite experienced in this group. Postgrad, yeah. So I think what I'm going to explain will be more familiar with you and understand what I'm going to talk. And then when you write the paper, what do you find the most difficult part? Is it introduction, methods, results, or discussion? Methods. A bit interesting here about discussion, because most of the time, people tell me is about the introduction. They find it very difficult. Okay, and then I think this is the last one. When you choose a journal to publish, what do you consider first? Is it the name of the publisher? Is it the impact factor of the journal? Is it your target audience? Or the publishing model, like open access or subscription model? Impact factor? Well, this is understood. But how come nobody care about your readers? Zero. Yeah, I asked this because in my coming slides, I have something more to talk about your target audience. I think that's it for me to understand the role and your background. And now back to my slide. Okay. And Rireen, can you check if you see online, is it a full PowerPoint mode? Okay, good, good, good. My talk today is about from research to publication. It's actually a very long journey, because when you study or do the research, first of all, it takes you a few years to finish if your study is actually quite, something. And then after you find something in your research or in your study, you want to publish it because you want to disseminate or distribute your findings to the world. So that's what I'm here and try to give you some guidelines on how to do your research, particularly on the later part of your study, that is writing into a manuscript. So this is the agenda today. I will briefly talk about who is Springer Nature, then how your research journey looked like, and very importantly, what an editor look for when receiving a manuscript. Then how you can choose the right journal for your paper. Then under the editorial process behind the scene, because that will affect you as well. Last but not the least is the research integrity, a very hot topic in recent years. First of all, have you heard of Springer Nature, the name? No? But I believe you have used our platform, just really show that is our Springer Nature link and the nature.com platform. These are the two platforms that with all the resources have. Just briefly go through it because my slides are pretty long, so I won't touch on Springer Nature too long. Springer Nature actually merged from two companies. First is Springer, and the other one is Macmillan and Science company that owns Nature. So in 2015, the two companies merged together and become one company, Springer Nature. So Springer Nature is the name of a publisher or name of a corporate. But under Springer Nature, we have different brands like Nature, Springer, Hellgrave Macmillan, ADIS, Biomed Central, etc., etc. And these are the brands of Springer Nature. And then under the whole company, we have three divisions. And I would say the most relevant to higher education or to you here is the research department. Just in 2024, the research sector, our research department, handled 2.3 million article submission. And that is around, cannot see this, 482,000 plus articles a year. And with the two platforms, we calculated, and altogether we have 3.7 billion downloads a year, which is a very huge number. And I would like to thank you for your contribution to one of these. Apart from journal, we also have books, and we are actually the biggest scientific books publishers. Every year we publish around 14,000 books. And altogether, our internal editors work with external editors, academic editors, to go through all the articles and the book chapters, and with 1.2 million peer review papers. Now, Springer Nature have around 3,000 journals available, in which around 700 are fully open access. Then the others are mainly hybrid. And now we have very little on the subscription journals. I think you also have heard about SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. That is the 17 SDGs under United Nations, which is like challenging the societal challenge, tackle the challenge from global perspective. And now we have more than 1 million articles and chapters that are defined as SDG related. I will share these slides with the libraries later on, so I don't want to go through all these data, and you can read it. But these are the achievements of Springer Nature in 2024. It's still like a lot of articles we receive, a lot of books we publish, and also for education, mostly we start with K3 to high school. So it's more for the learning or education part. And then healthcare is for our healthcare professionals in the industry. not working. Okay, so this is just another one of achievements in terms of citations, in terms of downloads, SDG-related articles, or even the ratings from our authors. Springer Nature, almost like the #1 among all the authors. In last year, they rate us as the highest reputation of scientific publisher. Just a timeline, because we are moving forward with a lot of our open access development. I think since 2000, we already invest in open access. And we see there's a growing trend. If you are paying attention to Europe development, so basically most of the European countries now offer open access, and they name it as a transformative agreement to their authors. So they basically publish in open access environment. Open access, as you may know, has a lot of benefits as well, because you don't have to pay in order to read. No matter where you are, who you are, you can read it without any difficulty. So authors which publish under open access can reach out as remote as Latin America, North America, or even Africa. So people there can read your articles. So our study has found that under OA environment, your articles has 1.6 times more on downloads and 3 point something, I can't remember the figure, but 3 point something times more on citations. So in general, we see that open access should be the trend for the future. But of course, one of the disadvantages of open access is that the author, they have to pay the article processing charge in order to publish in open access environment. But they can keep the copyright, and they can get a higher impact than the non-OA articles. So in the next chapter, so how does your journey, research journey look like? For those who answer no in the second question, that you don't have any experience in publishing in an article or book, then you may ask yourself, why do I have to publish? I think first of all, it's about your discoverability of the manuscript. You have spent so much effort and time on your research, and you definitely want your research to be read. So if you publish, you can get your papers, travel to other countries, and then people from other regions can read your articles. And also because publishers, they put all our online databases being indexed and abstract. That means it's easier for people from around the world to discover your paper easily by just putting a few keywords, then your articles can be discovered. And by publishing with us, actually your record, your paper is permanently recorded on our platform. So only when times by your copyright with us is expired, then you may lose your record, but still, it can be sit in our platform for almost 100 years. So you can think about keeping your papers in a permanent record stage, and then you may be able to expand your collaborations with other people who read your paper and have interest in your study. The third one is when you do the manuscript, then you go through peer review, and the reviewer comments on your paper, you revise it and send it to publications. So during the whole process, basically is to improve your presentation. It's not just the written, but sometimes to be verbal, because you have to explain to your funder or to your supervisor, why do you have to do this kind of research? And actually, this helps improve your presentation skill. Sometimes it can be a funder's request for you to publish, or maybe from your supervisor, you need to publish in order to graduate. I see some of them happen. Then you have to do it. And afterwards, after it is published, you can also put your articles on your social media, like a blog post, like a press release, and then further increase the influence and impact of your articles. And also you can put your profile, put your articles into your CV, your profile, particularly if you are able to publish in a high reputable journals, then you are able to meet the kind of milestone in your career. And last but not the least, when you publish, people can, read your articles and build on your existing experiments and further improve it and try not to duplicate their work as well. So if you have designed this, I really have to write a paper, then this will be your whole journey. First of all, of course, work on your research project. You have to set up your study concept, design, that is your methodology, how to analyze your data, do the interpretation, and find out the results and conclusion. With everything ready, you can work on your manuscript. So you choose what is your article type. Is it a primary research paper or review paper? And then start to write on the manuscript. Then you submit to the journals you would like to publish in. When journal editors accept it, it goes through peer review, back and forth, corrections. After accepted, it goes to production and finally got online. It's just 6 steps. Looks easy, but actually it takes a very long time, particularly for the first 4 steps. So in order to increase your success rate in publish, the following slides, I'm going to talk about how you can structure your manuscript and getting your publication much faster. So what does an editor look for in a manuscript? It's not just Springer Nature editors, but in general, the scientific editors, they are looking at this scope. First of all, they look at the aims and scope. We need to understand what is the purpose of the journal editor taking up the role of this journal. Because they have their full-time job as a professor or lecturers, and they do the journal editor like a part-time job or for interest. But they do want to improve the quality of the journal and build up the reputation of the journal. So they would set up an aims and scope of the journal in order to increase the readership, increase the download, as well as to increase the citation of the journals. So if you are able to align with the aims and scope, go to the journal homepage to look at this part to see if your coverage really meets with their requirement. And then the next thing they look at is the novelty. I think most scientific editors, they want something pretty new in their journal, something that can be inspiring other scientists. So they look how novel is your article. But we know that we can't have anything new every day. It is impossible. Then the editors will design if your manuscript is important to the field. Sometimes it's not about having something new, but if you are able to look at the existing articles or research areas, but you are able to add something more like enhanced tools on the methods or a new formula for kind of food processing, something like that, to enhance the efficiency or the quality of the products, then it's still important to the industry and like advance in the industry. So may not look at the novelty, but you still have to see if your paper is important enough for the industry. Oops, oops, oops. Then is the technical quality. Technical quality can consist of tables, graphs, images, etc. That I have other section to cover, because for a scientific or professional scientific paper, you cannot just write in text, but you should go with other like references or graphics to go with your article. Then editors look for the international readership interest. Like Springer Nature, we are international publishers. For sure, we want our readers from everywhere can read it. So if your finding is something that is very domestic or only limited to your regions, then you need to convince our journal editors that, oh, my trend maybe in a few more years will go to America or to Europe. Yeah, you can convince them, but at the same time, you need to provide a solid evidence to convince our journal editor that your locally or regionally findings will be of interest to readers in other areas. Last but not the least, and I would say this is out of your control, is editors look for a balancing of topics and article types. Sometimes, as you know, a journal will not limit to only one single topic or one single article type. So editors will balance between the topics. If they receive so many manuscripts on one topic, then they have to give up some of the manuscript which submit later. It's not because your manuscript is not good enough, just that they should not, or they think is not right to put all the similar topics in a short period of time. But you don't have to worry too much, because Springer Nature does have some service for you to find the right journals, but I will cover that later. But the prerequisite factor, or the most important part, is still you need to make a good original research article for yourself. Starting from writing a title till the end of having a references, you make it a very logical flow, then you will get a higher chance of publication. So first of all is your title. So how you can get your readers' attention, it usually comes with your title. There are something that you need to consider, should and should not include. So for your title, what should you include? For sure is the important, because you are doing this, it has to be very important to the industry or advance the industry. So you need to make sure your title contains something that is maybe the existing challenge or what you found in the paper. And then keywords for indexing. As publishers put all the articles on databases like Web of Science, Scopus, JCR for indexing. So you make sure your title should include one or two keywords that is good enough for the search engine to find your article. Not a very long title, because most of the time, if you have a very long titles, no matter for Springer Nature or other publishers, when you read it online, basically you cannot read the whole title if it is more than 15 words. So our editor suggests that your title should basically less than 15 words. Now, what should you avoid in your title? So first of all, avoid questions. Because most of your readers have questions in mind, they just want answer. So provide them the information about what is the most important about your study is very critical. Oops. Then avoid being a method-based title. What is a method-based title? It is like an investigation of amoeba in rivers. So you know this is an investigation of amoeba, but then what's that? It is too vague. The readers does not understand what is your article about, and they have to go to the abstract to read it. And this is a disadvantage because the first attraction should be your title to get their eyesight. Then avoid uncommon abbreviations. If people outside your immediate field are not familiar with the abbreviations, they don't understand your title. Then no or not too catchy. I know people like catchy things, but it's more for entertainment. Then we will try to get something catchy. But for a scientific paper, if you are too catchy, people may set a very high expectation. But if it turns out your paper is just another ordinary articles, then they may, have a bad impression towards you or even towards the journal. Now you have a good title. Then the first good impression to the readers or to the journal editors is your abstract. But remember, majority of people will only read this section. I think, first of all, because abstract is the first part, is like a summary of your study. So it concludes everything that they need to know. And secondly, if you don't have the access to the full text, and this is the part that you are still able to read, abstract, you're still able to read. So in order to get a very good impression from the journal editor or from the readers, first of all, of course, you have to introduce the relevancy of the topic and identify the research problem you have in the field. Then you start to describe your aims, and then the study design, that is your methodology, how to cope with these challenges or the central question. After the methods or experiments, you summarize your key findings. You have to provide one or two key findings of your research, because this should be like a solutions to the research problem. And finally, state the main conclusion. What is the implications to the field? How it can solve the problem in the industry? And what's the future development or directions? Then you put it as this way. It is a logical flow of your abstracts. Now you work with your main part. And that is what I asked in the beginning, that which part you find is very difficult to start with, not in ITS, but in some other universities, they find introduction extremely difficult. I think because just like writing a novel or story, only when you start with a good beginning, then you can smoothly go on with the remaining of your story. It's the same, but I won't say that this is the most important part. Basically, each part is difficult depending on how you structure it. But for the introduction, this is what you tell the readers why your research needs to be done. Of course, you have to tell them what is the trend in the industry. Is it relevant to the global reader, or is it relevant to the regional readers? If you are submitting to a broad journals, then of course you have to, tell them what is, what is relevance to most of the people in this field, and you need to give more basic or background to the people, because not everyone really understand your specific question. But if you are submitting your manuscript to a specialized journal, then you don't have to give too much background information, because they already know it. When you give them a basic background of your topic, then you have to tell them what is now known about your topic, what are the up-to-date publications, and of course you have to provide them with the recent studies that talk about your central problem. This is particularly important for journal editors, because if they know that you are not cite something up to date, they know you are not catching up with the trend. Same as the citation or the reference, because if these are broadly available or in worldwide, actually most of the people will know what it is about. When you have the context for the readers, what is known in that topic, now you can provide them what is not known. And this will be your research basics, because you identify that is not known and you want to tackle this problem with your experiments and findings and solutions. So you need to describe clearly what is the existing problem that is not solved. Now, then you go to your specific aims. And this is why you need to do this research, because you realize the problem that is not tackled by the recent published articles. So you want to focus on this research, and it goes back from broad to narrow, and that is your aim. But your aim should, that's what I said, and go back to your research problem. Then, after the introduction is your methods, and this is what was done. It is very important for the journal editors to look at your methodology, because they probably can know that if you are doing the experiment right. So in this method section, you need to mention who and what was used in the study. So if you are doing a survey, you need to mention the sample size, the profile and background of those people or participants. And then if you are doing a lab check or doing experiments in a lab, then you have to mention about the materials you use in all the protocols, and even the vendor names. Where do you purchase from? You have to mention in your method section. Then after you do the experiments or the survey, then you tell them how you conduct the study, what formula or what quantification method you are using, what techniques you are using in order to get the results like this. So you have to specify all the conditions and even the controls, for example, in a lab room, because that will affect your result findings. And then when you collect all the data, you start to analyze these data, and even the software you use, the quantification methods you use in order to get the statistical test at the end, because I think most of us know that even though you are not a mathematics students, when you do an experiment or survey or any test, you need to use statistics. Me the same. When I do my linguistic project, I need to study statistics, and I ask myself why. But still, we are asked to do that. So analyze your data in the research is critical, because whether you get the right findings is fall under this regime. That is how you analyze your data correctly. Then in the results is the readers can know what I've found in your study. And remember that, yeah, you know very well about your research and you know why the results are done like this. Your readers are not, because they don't know what you have done, or basically they are not with you. So if you are not presenting in a logical way, then your readers will get lost. So logical flow is the main part of your results. And then afterwards, you need to tell them the primary or secondary endpoint. Primary endpoint is the central questions that you want to tackle with. For example, if you are doing a clinical trial with a drug, you want to test the efficacy or effectiveness of a drug and finally got the approval from FDA, then this is your primary endpoint. But when you are doing an experiment, most of the time you have other supporting information or other outcomes coming with your experiments. These are the secondary endpoint. For example, the drugs, maybe they have some other side effects, maybe they are also useful for killing or curing other diseases. But this is not your original goals of your study. So these are the secondary endpoints. So you have to make sure that you differentiate the primary and the secondary and don't mix up. Because if you mention your the aim in the introduction, but in the result section, you diversify your findings in separate angles, actually making your paper very confusing and messy. So always remember what is your main goal of your research. And in your findings, in your results, try to link back your primary endpoint back to your original goal. But of course, no harm to do the secondary endpoint, but that will be like the further control of this finding. No data dump, just throw out all the data and ask people to read because they won't understand. Mention all the results of your methods, even though it's a failure, even though nothing come out. It's still good to mention because it will prevent other people from duplicating their work. If you mention, oh, I do these methods, but at the end, there is no chemical reaction. So people in the future read this part and they won't do the same thing again. But they may think about in another way to make the experiments more fruitful. And then no discussion here because you should do that in the next section, the discussion. Always go with the tables and graphs and figures. It is good to tell stories. Last is the discussion, and I would say from narrow to broad. If you remember in the introduction, we start broad and then narrow down to the specific aims, and discussion is like the opposite. In the discussion, you want to summarize what you did. Mention the research problem you identify, and then describe how the study designed in order to get the results like this. Summarize some of your key findings in this discussion section. And then start to interpret your findings. So if you are doing the research that already have a lot of publication, try to compare the similarities or the differences from those which are published. And then mention something unexpected in the method or in the findings or even negative results. As I said, negative result actually gives some hints for your readers not to repeat the same error. And it is also good to mention about limitations in your study because no research is perfect. You know, sometimes you have limitations in terms of fundings, in terms of looking for the right materials, in terms of equipment, etc., etc. But if you are able to identify the limitations and tell the people that in the next research or paper, you want to tackle this problem with these limitations, actually build up your reputation because you are able to identify the problem. So don't hide anything, even though they are negative. Then at the end, sometimes as a separate section, is the conclusion. So here, you want to tell what is the implications of your research and what are the potential for the market or for the industry. That is like, what is the advancement to the industry? So at the end, oops, it's always here. Okay. So basically, if you link all your ideas or manuscript like this, at the end, you are able to answer the reader's questions. Why this study needs to be done, what you did, what you found, and how your study will advance the field. And in addition, I want to say that if you identify the objectives in the beginning, you try to solve the problem in the field that you mentioned, but at the same time, your results and the figures should also link back to your objectives. And finally, the findings or the key findings or the implications for the field should solve the problem you identify in the beginning. If you are trying to link all your ideas like this, basically this is a very good flow of manuscript and able to answer your identified problem and provide a solution to the problem like a circle. Now we have done with the first most important part, that is your research and how to structure your manuscript. Then we go to the second part and try to make your manuscript in a more professional way. First of all, it's the figures. Figures is good because they can tell a story easily, especially if you have a lot of data that you want to show, then you use some figures. And it is always good to break down the figures into subsection, and one subsection link back to one figures. Then most of the readers are able to understand the context of your study and the figures. And sometimes you may have a very complicated data like this one. Then you may, need a multiple panels to show it, like a sequence of your data, but each figure shown in one single figure. And then people just read it one by one and able to get the idea of your complicated data. Try not to, put all these complicated into one big graph, because it will be first of all, they are very similar, but still different. So if you put them into one figure, how many axes, X, Y, Z, you have to put that to make it clear. So try to break them down if possible. So think of the clear instead of pretty. And also illustrate the key findings, not to illustrate everything that you want to present. Otherwise, your whole article will full of figures and no focus at all. Figures should be able to stand alone. That means it is understood by looking at it without referring back to the text. And then colors is something very minor, but scientific papers, we still suggest using some professional colors. I wouldn't say professional, but no fancy colors. Otherwise, it doesn't really look professional. Then tables. Tables is good for big data, really big data like the table on the right, because you want to show like a range of data. Then it is similar to figures, is able to stand alone. When they look at it, they understand what it is about. But when you have the table, try not to repeat it in text because it is understood. So there's no point to repeat and make it into text again. And then the other things, legends, self-explanatory, spacing, these are all the minor things. But if you do them good, actually your paper look more professional and well received by the editor. Authorship. this is one of the questions that I receive inquiries most of the time, because many authors are not sure or 100% sure if they should include some of the names in their manuscript. So in general, we identify people with the following as authors: people who contribute a substantial input to your study concept or to the study design, people who collect data, do the analysis and interpreting the data, people who do the primary work of writing, people who approve the final version of the publication, and the people who is responsible for accuracy or integrity of the paper and being questioned at the end. These are all the people should be regarded or defined as authors or co-authors. But if there are still people who are supporting you but not meeting the criteria of authorship, then you can put them under acknowledgement. So who are they? Probably your professor who gives you some ideas, your editing support that just to polish your language, your lab assistant, they set up everything for your experiments. These are the people that you can acknowledge them in this section. And then disclosures, if you are having fun for this study, you need to disclose to the journal editor about that. Any conflicts of interest, disclose here. Each journal has slightly different in the acknowledgement and disclosures. So please go to the journal website and check out all the declarations and the transparency that you need to meet. Last but not the least is the resources. You have to use the most relevant and current resources under that section, because this is the source for the peer reviews to know where you get those references from. And this is how how the journal editor decide whether you are using the most up-to-date references. Let me spend the time. Okay. Now you have all everything ready and you have your manuscript ready. Then the next part is how you can choose the right journal for your paper. And I always call it a home for your paper. In the questions, quite a lot of them, quite a lot of you pick impact factor as a consideration. But from publisher's standpoint, it's not necessary, because impact doesn't mean impact factor. You need to understand what is impact factor. Impact factors is a number that is the totals downloads in the past 2 years divided by the total number of citations in the past 2 years, and get that figure. And that is the figure assigned to the journal itself. But under one journal, there may be thousands of articles written by different people. And how do we measure the impact of your articles if you publish in that journal? So focus on the impact of your article, but not the impact of the journal. So first thing you need to ask yourself when you choose the journal to publish is, who is your target audience? So where are your researchers located? In your region or in other countries? What are your researchers investigating or studying? Is it your subject area or is it related area? Who do you want to influence apart from the researchers? Is it the industry, policymakers, educators, or general public? So first of all, you need to find out where are the findings relevant? Who do you want to influence? So if you think you want to influence the worldwide, because it is applicable to other markets as well, choose an international journal to reach a worldwide audience. But if you think my article is mostly beneficial to regional or in Asia Pacific, then you choose a regional journal to reach to a local audience. I explained once before, regional journal doesn't mean you need to choose a local publisher, because international publisher also publish regional journals, such as here, Asia Pacific Journal of Management is Springer Nature Journal, because we see there are some trends more prevail in some areas, but we think that they are also important to international readers. So we sometimes develop regional journals instead of globalized journals. Then you need to ask for whom they are relevant, who will be your readers, who would want to read your articles. If you want readers only in your field to read your articles, then you choose a specialized journal. But if your topic is more broad focused, then you choose a multidisciplinary subject journals. So for example, here, the Nature Cancer is very specialized because it's only focused on cancer. But then for Nature Medicine, it can cover cancer, it can cover specific cancer, it can cover drugs, it can cover clinical trial. It's a very broad focus journals. So depending on your topics, who will be more relevant to your topics, then you choose the right journals. And then how much accessibility, how widely you want to distribute your articles. As I mentioned, subscription is the traditional publishing way because they are older, they have been in the market for a long time, but only for those universities have the subscription that you are able to access to that article. So if you want to reach out to more global readers, have more people read your article, then open access can be a choice. Because as I mentioned earlier, it is free to everyone. No matter where you are, you can read it and you can share it with people. But there is no right or wrong, all depending on your will, depending on the author's choice. And there is a free website that I think is good for all of you, and it is called Think, Check, Submit. Because going to that website, you can get a checklist. If you get all the yes to your checklist, so you will then be comfortable to submitting your articles to that journal. Rireen also demonstrates on Springer Nature Link how to use Journal Finder to look for the right journals for yourself. It comes up with a search results that is relevant to your keywords, to your subject, and then you can pick the right journals to publish. And now you submit to a journal that you prefer, and the journal editor thinks that it is good to go for peer review. I would like you to understand what is behind the scene. First of all, journal editors are very, very busy because being a journal editor is a part-time job. If you want to convince the journal editor to take your manuscript, you need to impress them with your cover letters. Because in the cover letters, you can tell the journal editor what is significance and what is the relevancy of your study to that journal. And then the journal editor will design whether it is suitable for your manuscript to get published in their journal. So if you want to convince the journal editor and impress them, what should you include in your cover letters? First of all, of course, to have your manuscript title, But it is also good to mention about the article type. What is article type? Article has many forms, such as primary research articles, review articles, letters to the editors, short communications, etc. Each one is evaluated differently. So please include the article type you want to submit to in the beginning of your cover letter. Then, of course, you have to give them the brief background about the existing research problem and what is your scope of the study. Remember to mention that it is relevant to the journal scope. And I always mention about go to the journal homepage to look at the aims and scope, because they mention about the coverage of the journal and the readership of the journal. If you are able to get those coverage and the readers in your cover letter, that will get a higher chance of being read by the journal editor. Then talk about your study design, the methodologies, and include 2 or 3 key findings of your results. Then a conclusion, what is the implication to the field, how to advance the field, and that's try to make it relevant to the journal and how important is your article. And last but not the least, something additional information such as publication ethics. Some journals require you to provide a number of reviewers, because looking for a right reviewers takes a lot of time, especially if your research is very niche. It's hard to find the right reviewers. Then it will be good for you to provide some names for the journal editors. But even if there is no such a requirement, it is also good if you have some names for them. At the same time, you can exclude reviewers as well if you think there may be a conflict of interest. So you can go to Springer website or Nature website to look at our editorial policies, and we will update it from time to time. Now, if you have convinced the journal editor to accept your manuscript, you overcome the first obstacle. The second obstacle you are facing is peer review. Many people think that peer review is slaughtering me, is killing me, because everyone tries to stab me on the back. No, don't think that way. Actually, peer review is a very positive process, because first of all, the experts in your field give their advice on how you can improve your study and your manuscript. And remember that they do it free of charge. They don't charge you for anything to review. And then they ensure all the publications are very relevant to the journals. And these are always the scientifically sound findings. And then at the end, our ultimate goal is to help advance the field. So basically, it's a positive process. So when you receive the comments from the reviewers, the next step you need to do is to, of course, revise your manuscript and then write a response letter and send back to the journal editors. But some of the journal editors told us that they hate receiving a revised manuscript with so-called revised, but they don't know where to find the revisions. So in order to speed up the process and for the beneficial of the editor's time, it is advised that you make it clear for the journal editors to find the revised part. It is good to highlight the revised manuscript, make it like a numbers from number 1, number 2, number 3, etc. So they don't have to hunt for the changes. And without hunting, actually it speed up the whole process. So I summarize some of the common factors of rejections. It's not unique. Maybe you have some other reasons of rejection that I haven't heard of. You can share with me later on. But most of the time, we see that it's not aligned with the journal aims and scope. The readership doesn't match. The coverage doesn't match. So that's why I mentioned many, many times, go to the journal homepage and look for the aims and scopes. Who writing doesn't mean your English, because how many native English in the world is from America, from Australia, from UK? That's it. Most of them are not native. Then poor writing here is more about the clarity of your manuscript. It is not structure. I mean, it's not structured well. It's not logical flow. That is the poor writing. One author told me once, she got the reason of the rejection is illogical. That's the only comment from the journal editor. I think it's really hurt. But then she learned a lesson how to, in the future, how to write the manuscript in a more logical way. So be logical, be like linking your ideas into a story, make it a storytelling. Then maybe during the analysis, not sufficient data to support the findings, then plagiarism, unethical conduct. You can read it afterwards when I share, see if you meet one of them, if you got rejected before. So regardless how well is your manuscript, you may still get a chance of rejection. If you get rejected, don't panic, just relax, because it happens to everyone. And I told the previous group that nature rejection rate is as high as 95%. So a lot of people, when they submit to nature, actually they face the same situation, got rejected. So learn from the lesson. What does the journal editor dislike about your manuscript? Can you learn or revise your manuscript? If yes, revise it and submit to another journal. You cannot submit to the same journal again because you already have the record of rejection from that journal, unless you are doing another study. So send to another journal. And we are very glad to tell you that Sprinkle Nature has a transfer desk service. Sometimes your manuscript is rejected because not aligning with the aims and scope, but still very scientifically sound. Then we try not to lose you. We try not to lose your manuscript. Then we will transfer to another journals which fits more into your manuscript. And this is called transfer desk. But that doesn't mean a guarantee of publication. You still have to go through the same process from submission to peer review. It just means that you still have another chance for another journal, because finding another journal to submit is quite time consuming. And the last part is a recent topics, a hot topic that we have been talking. Research integrity is not something new, just that we don't have a very codified or standardized ways to present it. But when in 2010, 51 countries from around the world went to Singapore and discussed research integrity, and they come up with a statement, and including 4 main principles of research integrity. And these are honesty, accountability, respect, and fairness. And the last one is good stewardship. So what specific areas of research integrity contain of? So first of all is the human and animal research. If you are using human or animal to test, you need the approval first before you go on with your experiments. plagiarism and duplicate publication is not ethical. Plagiarism is not just copy words from words, but you copy someone's idea and make it yours is a plagiarism. And then what is duplicate publication? If you are using your old paper as a new one and self-cited, then it is called plagiarism. So it's two different things. One is stealing from others. One is stealing your old ideas into make it into new. These are all plagiarism. That images and data, make sure that they are all correct as they are. Don't modify it. No authorship disputes. That means every authors or co-authors agree to submit to that journal. Is there any conflicts of interest? Beware. Cite only when you read. Some people just copy and paste without really digesting the content of the citation, of that quotation. So make sure you really read it. Avoid predatory journals. There are some journals that are fake. They just want your money. If you publish in that journal, basically your study are ruined because you cannot retract them and publish in another journal. So beware, if they ask you to pay in order to publish, then you know they are mostly predatory. And then no paper mills? What is paper mills? That means you pay for the authorship, but basically you write nothing. That means some other people write for you and then publish, and this is paper mills. It is very unethical. And then AI. Yeah, I think most of us use AI in our study as well. It's rapidly growing. We cannot deny that we should not use it. Definitely, we use it, but we have to use it in ethical way. Springer Nature has a very strict policy on using AI. First of all, you should not include generative AI as an author. That means you cannot rely on the AI to write the whole manuscript for you. You can write with your own words, but you can also ask the AI to polish your English. But you cannot just feed AI with your ideas and ask the AI to generate the whole manuscript for you. And then we do not accept AI-generated image because most people nowadays, if you go to social media, there are so many fake images and you think they are real, but actually they are not. Then how can we, as an ordinary people, tell that something you found is real if you show it in a picture? And also we ask the peer reviewers, never use AI to go through peer review. They have to read it word by word. Because if they do that, it means like a summary of your manuscript. It can be, have some bias or not clear enough for the reviewers to go through it. Yeah, you may use chatbot or GTP, but put it in the disclosure. You use it into what extent of using it. Because, yeah, most people cannot tell they are real or not, but publishers like us, we do have very comprehensive tools to check out. We can check the plagiarism. We can check whether the photos or images are real or not. So don't risk your career if you're using that and submit to us, because retractions is really a damage to most of the authors. And of course, stay up with the research integrity. We are updating our research integrity from time to time, and we have a dedicated team on research integrity. We have 2 trainings for authors, and they are free of charge. You can scan this QR code and test yourself whether you how to say, compile with these research integrity. I will share this slide. You don't have to scan it now. This is just 1.5 hour talk on manuscript, writing it. Actually, each topic can last for an hour, so we don't have enough time. You may still want to ask a lot of questions and need a lot of support from us. We are happy to support you. We do have some on-demand and live training workshop. Unfortunately, they are paid service, but the nature masterclass or research academies, these are trained by our nature editors in a workshop 1 day, 2 days, or even a week, and they are doing a hand-on revision of your manuscript. But we are happy to offer you some online free topics tutorials, such as the writing in English, writing a manuscript, and these are free. Go to springernature.com, and under the authors, you can see some free tutorials for yourself. I know English writing is something very difficult for us, even for me. In order to improve the linguistic skills, these are some tools that you can use. It's not just Springer Nature is available in the market. That is to improve your linguistic skills. So check it out. Terima kasih. I just hope that I can give you some holistic pictures of how to, prepare your manuscript. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the details presentations, Mabel. So let's move to the next sessions. Bapak dan Ibu, apakah ada yang ingin bertanya? Silahkan Bapak.
Okay, thank you. My name is Amit. I am a doctoral student in chemistry department in ITS. I am lecturer in UNESA. My question is, what should an author do if a reviewer suggests adding additional research data, but the author faces limitation in terms of research instrument available in Indonesia and financial constraints? The next question, if there are 3 reviewers and one of them requires intensive revision including additional research data, while the other to accept the article with only minor revision, is it still possible for the article to be published? The last question, what is difference between Springer Nature and Science Direct? Okay, thank you.
Pertanyaannya boleh diulang karena tadi suara mic-nya kurang di awal tadi.
Okay, okay.
Coba pakai mic yang ini, Pak.
Okay, thank you. The first question is, what should an author do if a reviewer suggests adding additional research data, but the author faces limitation in terms of research instrument available in Indonesia and financial constraints?
Yeah, let me answer this first one. Yeah, if the reviewers think that your experiments may lack of some data, right? But due to the limitation to purchase such equipment in Indonesia, is that what I get? Then I think you need to explain to the reviewers what is your limitation, because this is something that you cannot carry on because you don't have that kind of equipment that in order to get the extra data, right? Then you tell the reviewers about your limitations, whether you can skip, because as I mentioned, that in the manuscript, you can make a statement of your limitations, right? You can suggest having that part in the limitations. So in the future, if I'm able to equip that from overseas, or when it is available in Indonesia, I will redo the experiments again to get extra information. Because now, I don't know whether the reviewer said no, reject, or just want you to get the information, extra data. So you suggest that if I mention a limitation in my methodology, and then is it possible, or just explain to them what is the situation you are facing? Because I think the peer reviewers should think that your manuscript is good enough. Just some extra data needs to make it better, unless they think that the data itself cannot fully explain or support your findings. Then they may need the data. So you need to make sure what he is referring to, because different outcomes, different situation may lead to different outcomes. If they just want extra information to support making it better, you still have the chance to publish. But if they think that you need that extra information to support your finding, but without that, you are rejected. So it's different directions. So you need to make sure what the reviewers are referring to in order to explain to the reviewers your limitations. I think, I hope
Ya, Bapak, apakah pertanyaannya, jawabannya menjawab pertanyaan dari Bapak?
Yeah.
Untuk pertanyaan pertama ya. Iya.
The next question.
Iya, oke, silakan Pak.
If there are 3 reviewers and one of them requires extensive revision, including additional research data, while the other to accept the article with only minor revision, is it still possible for the article to be published?
So they have a dispute among themselves, right? That means they are not in full agreement, right? The reviewers, because one said just a minor revision, then the other two may need more information. Is it what you mean, right? I think I haven't mentioned too clearly in the presentation. Yes, peer reviewers are crucial in the reviewing process, but who is making the final decision is the journal editor. So I think you can, that based on the reviewer's comment, you correct them, you revise them, because your revision is sent to the journal editors. You are not sending back to the reviewers. So you send to the journal editors, revise all the comments, and then, of course, you can tell them what is the situation among the 3 reviewers. They are not in a full agreement on your manuscript. Then it will be the journal editor to decide whether just a minor correction is fine, or they agree with the other 2 reviewers need more changes. The editor is the final decision maker. So you just need to be responsible to the journal editor, and you don't have to tell the reviewers, should I do this or should I do that? Unless it is like a on and off conversation with the reviewers, because sometimes it's not just one round of reviewing. But as I said, it's the journal editor to make the final decision on accepting or rejecting your manuscript. So tell the journal editor your situation.
Satu lagi ya Pak, silakan Pak. One more question.
What is the difference between Springer Nature and Science Direct?
They are 2 platforms, 2 publishers.
Well,
Science Direct
is the best, maybe?
If you ask me, of course, Springer Nature.
He just
Menerbitkan konten ilmiah. Jurnal e-book kami terbitkan. Kemudian yang satu base-nya di Germany, Heidelberg, kami Springer. Kalau Elsevier ada di Dordrecht di Belanda. Itu ya Pak secara geografi. Kalau secara konten untuk e-book tadi Mabel sempat sampaikan jumlah kami adalah penerbit terbesar buku akademis. Kami punya koleksi terbaru untuk buku. Kalau Elsevier saya nggak tahu data pastinya, tapi setahu saya buku tidak kami nomor satu. Kemudian kalau di jurnal jumlah judulnya kami ada 3.800 judul jurnal. Kita seharusnya sih mirip, karena kalau kami diundang di internasional level betul bisa nih Pak. Yang mungkin ada brand-brand lain kayak Publikasi, YB, Acara, mungkin sekalian gitu. Tapi setahu kami ya cuma kan. Kemudian apa lagi Pak?
Kalau yang dilanggar oleh Publikasi itu apakah Springer Nature dan Scientific?
Kalau Springer ya dilanggar Pak, paket Springer All namanya. Ada 2 lebih judul jurnal dari berbagai disiplin terbitan 1997 sampai terbaru. Kemudian kalau Nature itu kan kita punya 66 Nature yang dilanggar. Tapi kalau di ITS ini baru melanggar satu judul Nature. Dia multidisipliner Bang. Kalau untuk Science Direct seharusnya ya Bang tadi disampaikan di mana ada Alfamart ada Indomaret, nah di mana ada tapi masih ada gitu kok. Saya nemu pola dari Syakwawa sampai ke ujung timur kayak gitu. Nah kalau Bapak mau lebih tahu detail perbedaannya saya bisa sampaikan misalnya bicara harga, bicara lain sebagainya Pak. Karena itu bagian saya sih harusnya yang semoga menjawab ya Pak ya. Kemudian kalau yang beda satu lagi Pak, karena Bapak udah kenal kami Mabel directly kayak ini juga beda ya. Nanti kalau Bapak ada manuskrip mau submit ingin publish di Springer bisa langsung kontak. Mungkin dengan kompetitor belum kenal personal, tapi kalau sama Springer udah ya Pak ya. Itu untuk kontak kami terus masukan. Tertib banyak di saya juga pernah buka data penulis dari ITS yang pernah menerbitkan Springer juga tentunya positif Pak. Naik. Saya harap generasi yang sekarang diteruskan gaya ini dikasih. Kemudian ITS harusnya match dengan Springer karena kami sains teknologinya kan juga memproduksi banyak banget artikel di bidang sains teknologi. Engineering itu basicnya Springer. Semoga membantu ya Pak. Kita pernah kontak Pak. Sebenarnya ITS dihandle oleh senior saya namanya dari apa? Dapat email dari peneliti-penulis ITS dan sering menjembatani komunikasi dengan aktor dan itu seru ya, jadi jangan suka kalau milih itu itu ya. Akses juga ke kontak saya atau kontak Mabel kalau lewat.
baik, terima kasih banyak atas masukannya Bapak Bagas. Semoga menjawab ya Pak pertanyaannya. Kemudian kita lanjut. Silakan Pak pertanyaannya.
Yeah.
Ya.
我可以说中文吗？
呀，
可以啊。好好。
我希望我听得明白
我的名字吗？
啊。
我可以说那个什么当老师吗？我可以找你当老师吗？还是谁
？It's up to you.
OK
Up to you.
OK 因为你说那个印尼文，所以我想说那个中文，所以我可以那个像很多亲你的。
哦，其实我的英文比我的普通话还好一点。
哦，
你说。
我知道你的那在香港是不是？
哦，我在香港。
Okay, it's okay. I will speak English. Okay, I think because you are from Hong Kong,
Yeah.
所以我们的那个中文是不一样。
Yeah,
对，
一样一样一样。
一样是吗？所以
啊
那个我是
应该是
在台湾的时候，
哦，
我可以讲那个
好，
中文，所以
试试看。
是这样的。My question, I will use English then, so my friend can understand. So, I have a question that why the ocean engineering or the naval architecture engineering is really less in Springer, because I searched on the resource, yeah, Spring Nature. The ocean engineering have only 2 journal, but naval architecture like a 0 journal.
Can that be?
Yep.
Engineering is one of our huh? Sorry? Yeah, one of our strongest, disciplines.
Okay.
So we must have a lot of engineering journals. How many we have? Engineering. 500 journals. Because this gentleman said that he can only find 2 journals.
Yeah, for,
Is it
for for the specific issue like engineering, but ocean is really a lot. But ocean life, marine biology,
Ocean life.
yeah, that's a lot. But especially for engineering is really less, only 2 journal. But it's okay. But my friend is there. His major is naval architecture. We cannot found on the Springer, I think. Ocean engineering is 2 journal only, but marine life is a lot. Our specification is engineering, but naval architecture, I think you should add journal on the naval architecture, because there is a lot of research on that, I think. Or maybe you have. Yep. Kalau kami naval arsitektur itu biasanya kami gabung di Elsevier karena memang di sana ada. Tapi kalau di kalau di Springer ini ya, naval. Kalau similar marine engineering.
Yeah. Stop it, right?
Yeah.
Ini option engineering.
Ya,
Yeah.
atau naval arsitektur, Bu.
Kalau
Kalau-
option itu ada jurnal related.
Oke.
Ya, ada China Ocean Engineering.
Ya, itu satu.
Yang marine science ini tidak terkait atau
Ya, marine science itu seperti marine life, Bu. Jadi kayak ikan. Ya, jadi belajar ikan kayak gitu-gitu, Bu.
lalu ada option engineering.
Ya, itu satu. Itu yang saya sebut 2. Itu termasuk tapi bukan yang engineeringnya. Jadi agak lebih luas lagi di situ. Ya, jadi spesifik yang naval arsitektur, misal ship building gitu ya, itu enggak ada. Ship building. Oke. Oke, itu yang suggestion pertama gitu. Yang kedua, we already login using our student email, but not connected. It's like we need to connect via your institution. That's I don't know why. But if we using the Wi-Fi from this library, it's no problem. But when I'm using my own account, student account, it cannot be connected. I still need to be pay or connect via our institution.
Baik.
Why?
Mungkin kalau untuk terkait akses, nanti boleh hubungi saya Pak, ataupun juga dari tim pustakawan ya. Karena memang mungkin ada beberapa IP yang masih belum terdaftar mungkin untuk di bagian itu ya Pak ya, fakultasnya ya mungkin ya Pak ya. Jadi boleh nanti di kontak saya ataupun tim pustakawan, karena barangkali ada beberapa IP yang baru yang belum diregistrasi ke sistemnya Springer, seperti itu ya. Baik. Boleh silakan.
masuk di mana dari kampus mau di luar kampus kan itu bisa mengakses apa yang dilakukan. Cuma ada beberapa kita yang memang infrastrukturnya belum lengkap ya kayak Diselenggarakan itu bisa menggunakan email apapun, Gmail, apapun student bisa. Nanti ketika Anda create username dan password, nanti the list of user itu pun muncul. Tapi biasanya akan di-delete sama perpustakaan karena atau email. Tapi kalau yang infrastrukturnya kayak yang luar tinggi atau akademika menggunakan kan memang VPN ya. Itu saya lihat listnya mereka harus pakai ini. Jadi kalau Bapak dan tadi sampaikan mendaftarnya kalau pakai ini misalnya itu harus pakai jaringannya ITS. Nanti uang itu dapat creator lah maksudnya tapi nanti kami di sebagai admin ITS tentunya bisa lihat.
Oke. Tadi salahnya mungkin saya nggak pakai, saya dari awal pakai dari luar, bisa asumsikan saya dari luar.
Kalau dari luar, Bapak nanti kerekamnya username dan passwordnya Bapak
bukan
unaffiliated.
Iya.
Jadi pastikan daftarnya harus dari ITS. Supaya karena ITS juga cuma sebenarnya Pak, sorry ya Pak, yang pernah yang sedang dilanggar itu dan kalau itu luar biasa, mungkin membeli atau enggak lama lah, akan dimas membeli. Kalau jurnal kan belakangnya Pak, tiap tahun. Kalau ikuti hakimnya dan itu ya kita sempat belum sampaikan bahwa mau membagikan apa yang dimiliki ITS ke luar institusi. Atau biasanya kamu kuliah di ITS beberapa waktu aku membaca ini gitu. Bisa dibagikan pakai shareable link tadi baik ebook maupun artikel. Jadi misalnya ada sekolah tinggi atau politeknik yang itu coba bisa bagikan sebenarnya. Tapi yang PDF, kalau PDF nanti ITS dihitungnya cuma sekali mundur kan. Jadi kalau link setiap artikel, setiap chapter yang dipublikasi itu di agreement-nya kami sangat diizinkan and for the purpose of academic, not komersial ya Pak. Dan komersial, kalau komersial pun ya jangan pelanggan. Tapi saya tahu di ITS ini ada permintaan-permintaan itu misalnya pandemi kemarin sampai kampus belum mendaftar gitu kan, itu bisa dibutuhkan pada secara itu ya. Apalagi kalau Bapak nanti jadi penulis pengen papernya bisa dibutuhkan ke global secara beli itu luar biasa. Dan gak semua penerbit ikutin kesepakatan itu Pak gitu ya. Kita akan mencoba nanti dibanding-bandingkan, di-explore. Tadi saya sempat bicara beberapa itu masih tapi bisa download ya asli. Kalau yang share beli misalnya mau bagikan ketujuan apa kemudian buat PDF Pak, read only.
Yeah, read only mode. Yeah. Can I say something about the journal itself? I think it's also about how we classify the journal, because ocean engineering, it can be engineering, it can be energy and environment, it can be something like others, mechanical, I don't know. So I think we need to search ocean technology or engineering, just look at journals, because this is kind of multidisciplinary subject, so it may not just fall under engineering. That's what I want to say. Yeah.
Jadi diulang deh Pak. Ya.
Okay, last question.
Ibu semua, saya dikasih kesempatan mengulang yang saya sampaikan ya, soalnya yang teman-teman Zoom nggak mendengarkan. Boleh? Oke, tadi message-nya adalah, jadi mulai dari pertanyaannya Bapak aja ya, bedanya Springer Nature dan kompetitor gitu. Pasti beda Pak, karena kami beda perusahaan, beda produk. Produknya mungkin ada mirip-mirip, cuman Springer Nature ini sudah dilanggan oleh ITS sejak lama. Yang dilanggan adalah jurnal Springer, paket all, ada 2000 lebih judul jurnal. Kemudian ada satu judul Nature nature.nature itu platformnya berbeda. Kalau Springer di link.springer.com, kalau Nature itu di www.nature.com. Kemudian yang bisa diakses oleh ITS itu terbitan 1997 sampai terbaru. Kalau Nature yang bisa diakses adalah 4 tahun terakhir. Cuman karena ITS ini sudah ngelanggan Nature lama, mungkin 10 tahun masih bisa diakses. Kemudian apa lagi tadi? Kurang lebih seperti itu ya. Kemudian, oh ya, selain jurnal di ITS itu pernah membeli e-book koleksi. Terbitannya Springer. Kemudian dari berbagai koleksi itu silahkan dimanfaatkan oleh Bapak Ibu semua, baik yang ada di sini maupun yang di Zoom. Kemudian kalau jurnal sistemnya melanggan, jadi memang komitmen universitas untuk terus-menerus melanggan ya. Tapi kalau e-book karena koleksinya udah dibeli, itu sistemnya continuing access. Jadi benar-benar kayak jadi asetnya ITS ya. Nah, jadi silahkan diunduh, dimanfaatkan, dan di-share. Share itu dibagikan ke siapapun untuk tujuan akademis, ya bukan untuk komersial. Nah, tadi saya sempat share, dijawab melalui shareable link. Jadi di setiap artikel dan di setiap buku yang sudah dibeli ITS, kalau artikel berarti dilanggan, kalau chapter berarti dibeli, itu ada shareable link. Silahkan dibagikan. Itu ya, apalagi kalau yang dosen udah pernah nulis di Springer, kepengen dibaca oleh mahasiswanya, daripada mereka beli, itu kasih aja shareable link. Itu bisa dimaksimalkan pemanfaatannya. Dan profil tadi Mbak Ririn sempat sampaikan, shareable link itu ningkatin profilnya dia sebagai penulis juga. Ya kan, makin banyak diklik, makin banyak download gitu. Kalau PDF kan enggak, jadi dia bagi ke satu kelas isinya 100 orang, hitungnya cuma 1. Gitu ya, kembali lagi, saya sering sampaikan ke banyak universitas, link.springer.com dan nature.com ini platform. Jadi makin sering dikunjungi, makin sering dieksplor, nanti kebiasaan. Kayak sosmed lah ya, makin sering dipakai, makin familiar kita, nggak usah diajarin. Cuman bedanya ini akademis. Begitu, semoga yang di Zoom dapat gambaran apa yang kami diskusikan. Begitu Bapak Ibu. Matur nuwun.
Ada lagi ya, Ibu yang di
Ya,
belakang
baik.
dulu ya. Tadi urutan.
Thank you. I just want to ask just one question because one of the constraints to publishing a paper is charge of publishing. We would like to ask about APG for Springer Nature Journal. Does Springer Nature Journal offer any discount or fee waiver on APG for researchers from developing country, especially from Indonesia? If such as program is exist, could you please guide us where to find this information?
There is waiver lists, but we have to find out, maybe we can provide you with a waiver list. But if I remember correctly, unfortunately, Indonesia is not part of the waiver country, because we offer this waiver to poor countries, and I don't think Indonesia is poor. So Indonesia has actually a very strong country in publication. And 2 years ago, if I remember correctly, Indonesia is actually #1 in Asia in publishing in open access. So Indonesia is not under waiver country for sure. But if you really have difficulty in paying article processing charge APC, you can talk to the journal editor. Yep, because different journal editor has different way to deal with the waiver. But of course, you have to provide with a solid evidence or reasons for the journal editor to make a decision. Yeah.
Apakah
But,
menjawab?
yeah, Indonesia is for sure not a waiver country.
Bagaimana Ibu, apakah menjawab pertanyaannya? Oke, baik. Actually, this question is related to online questions. They also ask the same question about publication
I see that.
fee and also peer review community and so on. Actually ya. Apakah ada pertanyaan lagi? Ada satu lagi. Satu lagi boleh.
Thank you. Thank you for your opportunity. Just one question. What are advantage and disadvantage between open access and closed access journal? Like why we have to publish in open access and why we have to publish in closed access? Because we know like in open access we have to pay. It's not cheap to pay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. First of all, I would say that there is no right or wrong to publish open access or not. This is just an option we offer to authors. Open access has many advantages, such as you keep the copyright. Publisher will not keep your copyright. That means you are free to use your manuscript everywhere. You keep the copyright. Secondly, is a survey prove that open access articles has, I can't remember the figures, but it is much more downloads and citations than non-OA articles. So if you want to reach out to more audience, then choose an open access article. But funding is an issue for you, but you still want to publish it, you can choose the subscription model because we will do everything for you after you submit to us. You know what I mean? Yeah, but disadvantage will be only those pay for the subscription of that journal that able to read your article. So there are always pros and cons for subscription and open access. So depending on what you want to achieve. So you have to, balance and prioritize your wish list, want to reach out to more audience or want to save money from your pocket, depending on you. So we just give you an option to choose.
Menjawab, Pak? All right, Mabel, there is one question from online. The question is, do the submission stage applied to journals in Springer Nature also apply to conference papers?
Conference paper. Do you know, Bagus? It's books, right? It's now under books. Yeah. I think, first of all, there are two different categories. Because from Springer Nature, conference proceeding is classified as books. It's not journals. So books have a different ways of peer review. It still have to go peer review, but the submission process is different from articles. Articles, you just submit your articles through our submission page, but books, you need to submit a proposal to our book editor. And conference proceeding, it takes time to make all the papers into one book. It takes much longer time than just publish an article on journal. So there are different types of publication.
Okay. Baik, Bapak dan Ibu yang bergabung secara online, semoga jawabannya bisa menjawab pertanyaan Bapak dan Ibu. Untuk sesi ini kita akhiri karena sudah ada 5 orang yang bertanya ya, dan juga yang bertanya akan mendapatkan souvenir yang disponsori oleh iGroup, Ibu benar ya. Dan sebelum kita akhiri, kita akan masuk ke kuis ya Bapak dan Ibu. Nah, untuk kuis juga nanti akan ada pemenangnya. Boleh diikuti oleh rekan-rekan yang saat ini hadir secara offline dan juga rekan-rekan yang hadir secara online pada Zoom meeting ya. Nah, untuk barcode, can you just show up the barcode? On Zoom. Zoom. Yeah. Yes, loading.
So you want the code, right?
Yes, ya. Barcode-nya masih sama sebenarnya Bapak dan Ibu masih sama ya. Nah, ini untuk kodenya di 55131755.
Yeah, people online can join as well.
Ya.
So there are only 11 people join.
11, oke. Rekan-rekan yang bergabung di Zoom boleh diberitahukan jika sudah bergabung dan ready untuk memulai kuis ya. Yang offline sudah ready, sudah join semuanya?
Okay.
Okay. Not yet, still waiting.
Oh.
Sudah semua? Hanya 11 orang yang bergabung? Sudah ya? Ibu di sini sudah, Bapak? Yang tengah sudah? Sudah, yang pinggir sebelah kanan sudah? Sudah ya? Oke, let's just start.
Okay, I want to mention one thing. It's not just get the answer correct. You have to get the answer correct in the fastest way because it also calculates the time. The shorter time you use to get the correct answer, the higher score you will have. Okay, it's 33 players now, so I will start the quiz. There are 5 questions. Okay, the first question, which one is not what the editors are looking for? Novelty, aims and scope, international readership, publishing model. Which one is not the editors looking for? Only 15 seconds. Yes, the correct answer is publishing model. They don't care. So let's see. Yeah, we have a scoreboard. Yeah, the first question is Rainier leading. And then second question. Oops. Ayo.
Third question.
Is it what?
Third.
Is it third?
No. Yeah, second question.
Okay. Enter. The second question. Which one below should be defined as author in the manuscript? Is it your funder? Is it your supervisor, lab assistant, or data analysis specialist of your paper? No, your supervisor is not. The correct one is data analysis of your paper.
No.
Let's see who is leading in the second question. Huh? Naha. Okay. Yeah. All right. Then the third question. What is the first questions to ask if you want to choose the right journal to publish? Yeah, if you remember what I said. That's correct. You have to ask, who is your target audience? Ta-dang. Okay, that's the fourth question. Ayo, ayo. How come? Okay. What is the name of the function that we didn't show you how to find a journal?
Must be 100% correct, yeah.
Yeah, we have to pick out those answer wrong. Yeah, it's the Springer Journal Finder. Well, at least no one picked Scopus. It's changing every time. Okay, your last chance. The last question, your last chance. Is no, 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 no. Every time the same. The last chance. Research integrity has 4 main principles. Which one is not? Is not one of the 4. I do mention good stewardship. So the correct answer is diversity. It's not about diversity. So let's see who is going to win this game. Then we have
Mirta,
Mirta.
Yunita.
Is he here? Or
Selamat.
who is
Mana?
Mirta?
Punya. Okay. No one.
Oh, could you please come out
Come.
here? You have all the prizes here. Yeah, the first prize is earbuds.
Satu, 1, 2, 3. All right. Congratulations.
Rania.
Rania. Rania. Ibu Rania silakan.
Bagus? Bagus?
Pak Bagas boleh? Satu, 2, 3. Oke. Terima kasih, selamat.
Congratulations. And
The last one?
And the third one is what
What was that?
what is that?
Ahmad.
Muliyat.
Pak Ahmad?
Wati?
Pak Ahmad saya nggak bisa baca lagi.
Maybe you come this way.
Ahmad Sudi ya? Pak Ahmad Sudi?
Hah?
Oh, Zoom.
From Zoom?
Oh ya, baik Pak Ahmad, nanti kita titip ya kepada tim pustakawan, nanti boleh mengklaim hadiahnya. He's on the Zoom anyway.
So, we will leave your prize with the library.
Yes.
Also, when you come to the campus, please go to collect your prize.
Iya. Selamat kepada Pak Ahmad. Oke, sekarang mungkin untuk yang tadi sudah bertanya, saya pilih satu tadi yang di online ya. Nah ini yang online coba saya bacakan lagi. Ini Bapak Aditya Surya ya, yang mendapat 1 souvenir dari iGroup karena sudah bertanya secara online. Lalu 4 peserta yang hadir hari ini silakan maju ke depan boleh. Tadi Bapak silakan maju Pak, Ibu. Boleh langsung diserahkan aja Ibu. Serahkan aja. Iya, nggak apa-apa.
foto sebentar. Terima kasih.
Baik, Bapak dan Ibu, terima kasih banyak atas waktunya dan juga perhatiannya. Sebelum saya tutup, mungkin saya ingin mengingatkan kembali, tidak bosan-bosan juga, bahwa saat ini ITS berlanggan ya untuk database Springer Nature. Untuk itu Bapak dan Ibu boleh dihimbau kepada rekan-rekan lainnya yang saat ini masih belum bergabung, bahwa kita mempunyai koleksi yang cukup komprehensif sehingga bisa membantu untuk studi dan juga mendukung visi dan misi Bapak dan Ibu sekalian. Baik, untuk itu saya ucapkan terima kasih. Saya tutup. Wabillahi taufik wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Bu Sururin. Ya, teman-teman mahasiswa, Bapak Ibu, untuk akses koleksi resource perpustakaan ITS bisa ke ITS website ya, its.ac.id /perpustakaan. Jadi cukup mudah diingat kayak gitu ya. Website perpustakaan website ITS /perpustakaan. Oke, terima kasih Bu Sururi, moderator yang guide-nya luar biasa. Terus the presentation for Ibu Mabel Tang is very good presentation. More of us get value and benefit from your presentation. Iya, Bapak Ibu dan teman-teman mahasiswa yang hadir di sini, baik yang di Zoom meeting, terima kasih juga kehadirannya. Dan saya akhiri. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Aplaus untuk Ibu Mabel Tang dan Bu Sururin, Springer Nature.